On 26 August 2023, the morning before the friendly international match between the Springboks and the All Blacks at Twickenham, I made a video on what South Africa needs to do to beat New Zealand. I was not so much concerned about the international that evening, given that it was a friendly match with only bragging rights at stake, but about the upcoming Rugby World Cup in France and the possibility that South Africa and New Zealand might, depending on the permutations of their pools, have to meet one another in either the quarter-final or even the final of the World Cup. We all know how that turned out in the end, with the Springboks beating the All Blacks by a record margin of 35-7 at Twickenham, but more importantly, by the narrowest of margin of 12-11 in the World Cup final in France on 28 October 2023. In the video of 26 August 2023, I look at 5 things that the Springboks must do if they want to beat the All Blacks in the World Cup. In the end, I could not publish the video to my YouTube channel as I received a copyright strike. It was for a YouTube short that I published of Augustine Creevy running onto the field in the Springboks vs Argentine test match for his 100th cap. An attorney firm objected against my use of the material and I was banned from uploading to YouTube for 90 days, which period only expired last week. I therefore decided to upload the video now, after the World Cup, to reflect on what I said in it at the time and to assess whether I was correct in the 5 things I said the Springboks must do if they want to beat the All Blacks. I will also reflect on each of the 5 things and the extent to which the Springboks address each of them in the World Cup final. But let's first look at my full video that I made before the World Cup, before doing the assessment. In this short video, I will look at 4 things that the Springboks must do if they want to have a chance to beat the All Blacks. I'm not concerned about tonight's international friendly, given that, other than bragging rights and a morale boost, not so much is at stake. Both teams have picked fairly strong teams and will give it their all, but losing will not spell the end for either team's World Cups, hope and dreams. My video is more looking forward to the possibility that these two traditional foes might have to play one another again during the World Cup in the quarterfinals, or depending how things work out, possibly even in the final. If so, these will be do or die matches and the Springboks will have to be at their sharpest to beat the All Blacks. Here was then my list of 4 things that the Springboks must do if they want to have a chance to beat the All Blacks if their paths cross at the Rugby World Cup, in no particular order. Firstly, be switched on right from the start. Not for the first time in recent years, the Boks were caught napping in their 35-20 loss to New Zealand in Auckland's Mount Smart Stadium on 15 July 2023. Playing a high-octane brand of rugby married with intense physicality, the All Blacks scored early tries through Aaron Smith and Shannon Frizzell before late scores from Will John and Richard Mo'unga put a seal on the victory. The world champions, starved of the ball and heavily penalised, looked shell-shocked by the early onslaught, but recovered to score second-half tries through Malcolm Marx, Cheslin Colby and Kwagga Smith. In a recent article in the Rugby World, John Cardinelli points out that not for the first time in the 4-year cycle the Boks were outplayed and outscored in the early stages in Auckland. Against Ireland in November last year, they were all over Ireland in the first half, but managed to score only 6 points. France raced to a quick 13-0 lead against them in Marseille. It's not clear why the Boks take so long to settle or build momentum in these big matches. They have been particularly slow out of the block against New Zealand in recent times. Coaches Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Niebuhr have presided over 3 wins and a draw in 9 matches against the All Blacks since 2018. The Boks have trailed the All Blacks at halftime on 5 of these occasions. The Boks were down 12-0 after 17 minutes in Wellington back in 2018, 15-0 down after 34 minutes at Ellis Park in 2022, and 17-0 down after 16 minutes at Mount Smart Stadium this past July. In the game in Auckland, a number of Springboks played rugby a number of weeks ago, and this showed on the field. Kwagga Smith last played 18 weeks ago, Ewan Etzebeth 15 weeks, Lore Jager 8 weeks, and Franco Mostert and Jasper Wiese 9 weeks ago. This would not be the case when South Africa takes on Scotland in their first Rugby World Cup match on 10 September 2023. The Boks will however still have to be switched on from the word go if they want to stand any chance to beat the All Blacks. Secondly, expect the unexpected from the All Blacks. The All Blacks caught the Springboks on the back foot by their early tactical kicking game in Auckland. Rather than mainly box kicks, which has become the staple diet for many teams, they greatly varied their kicks, some tactically across the field. They launched some high bounce from fly-off, one aimed dangerously at the Springbok line, and a clever chip kick by Barrett to beat the Springboks' famed rush defence. The following short video demonstrates what I'm talking about. The Boks were clearly unprepared for this and battled to deal with the All Blacks kicking game. This provided the All Blacks with the necessary dominance to rush into an early lead from which the Springboks battled to recover. The All Blacks brain trust are master tacticians, and the Boks must be prepared to face the unexpected from the All Blacks. They will not always want to dominate up front against a battle-hardened Springbok pack or play expansive rugby with their dangerous backs from the word go, but rather adopt a more conservative yet unexpected approach, playing away from South Africa's strengths, which are our set pieces, scrums and lineouts, and our defensive system. So expect the unexpected from the All Blacks in each match and prepare to deal with whatever they throw at you. Thirdly, dominate the tight exchanges and slow down the All Black ball. The Springboks have the forward pack with the experience to dominate the tight exchanges and to put the All Blacks under pressure at scrum and line-out time. To do so, they must force the All Blacks into unnecessary mistakes and silly handling errors and marshal the All Black play towards the sidelines to enforce as many line-outs as possible. They must also try and play a territorial game that forces New Zealand to kick for touch more than they want to. The All Blacks thrive from quick front foot ball, and the Springboks will have to do their best to slow down the All Black ball at ruck time. Our loose forwards trio will have a key role to play in this regard, supported by Malcolm Marx and Steven Kitsoff, who are known for their ability to win turnovers and penalties. Playing the All Blacks, I will ensure that Marco van Staden is on the bench to come on at strategic times to affect even more turnovers. Lastly, the All Blacks are acknowledged masters of playing rugby on the edge of the rules, and we must learn to do the same, namely to play to the referee. Richie McCaw was the past master at this dark art. Eddie Butler once wrote of his game, and I quote, "Of course McCaw wriggles into positions he should not, and of course he dabbles with a hand when it is expressly forbidden, but it is what he is paid to do." End quote. Somebody else called him the master thief, always evading justice. When the Springboks played the All Blacks in Auckland this year, I observed a clear tactic that bordered on the edge of the law. They denied South Africa a quick ruck ball by cleverly rolling away, always in the direction from which our scrummer Faf de Klerk was coming. Often de Klerk had to jump over 1, 2 or even 3 All Black players on the ground to get to the ball at the ruck. I remember one incident where he had tripped over one of the All Black players and had to get to his feet before he could gather and pass the ball. Not once were the All Black players penalised for this. The All Blacks knew that Frenchman Mathieu Renal always allow a free-for-all at ruck time and planned for this and played perfectly to the referee's interpretation of the game. The Springboks must learn to do the same. Study the referee beforehand, and if he's not strict on a particular aspect of the game, then use it to your advantage. There you have it, my list of 4 things that the Springboks must do if they want to have a chance to beat the All Blacks at the Rugby World Cup. The above is of course not an exhaustive list. I could have added that our discipline must be impeccable. We must convert a high percentage of our kicks at goals, which remains a concern with Libbok's goal-kicking success rate, and that a drop goal or 2 will not hurt. Also that we must always show respect to the referee and allow Kolisi to do all the talking. Yes, I'm referring to you, Willie Leroux. I do, however, believe that the 4 aspects I listed will lay the foundation for a strong Springbok performance and give us the best chance to beat the All Blacks should we come face to face with the old foe during the Rugby World Cup. There you have it. The 4 things I listed in August 2023 that the Springboks must do to beat the All Blacks at the Rugby World Cup. Let's now look at each of the 4 aspects, whether the Springboks did achieve these and how it assisted them to become the 4-time Rugby World Champions. We switched on from the start. Unlike in the previous matches between the All Blacks and the Springboks, they were switched on from the start in the final and led at halftime by 12 points to 6, a lead that they did not surrender to be victorious, albeit by the smallest of margins in the end. The halftime score and always being ahead led to scoreboard pressure, with the All Blacks having to chase the game until the dying seconds of the pulsating final. The lead allowed the Springbok defence to shine, and in this regard flanker Pieter Steph du Toit were immense. He became only the 4th player to make 28 tackles in a World Cup fixture, and his tackles beat Richie McCaw's previous records for the most tackles in a World Cup final. His performance earned him the Man of the Match award. So I would give the Springboks a pass mark for being switched on from the start. Expect the unexpected. This is a more difficult one to judge. However, what can be said is that in the final the Springboks handled the All Black kicking game much better than in the Mount Smart match in the Rugby Championship. They were assured on the high ball and held the All Black kicking game well. Right from the kickoff, Damien Willemse returned the ball with interest, which set the tone for the rest of the final. The Springboks got kicked 38 times in the final, compared to 34 times by the All Blacks. This time around, however, it was the All Blacks that were less assured on the high ball with the Springboks able to compete most of the time. Just after halftime, Barrett knocked on from a high ball, nearly giving the Springboks a try with Kulisi holding onto the ball rather than passing to the flying Colby. The same happened a number of times in the final. There was one very lucky incident where Sevilla nearly scored after a clever All Black chip kick over the Springbok backline. Fortunately for the Springboks, the ball bounced the wrong way and into the hands of Damian Willemse, who could dot down. Overall, I would still give the Springboks a pass mark for mostly handling the All Blacks kicking game and for being competitive when they themselves kicked. Slow down the All Black ball. The loss of Malcolm Marx early in the World Cup robbed the Springboks of one of their turnover kings. They also did not select Marco van Staden for the final. In players like Kitshoff, Dion Fourie and Kwagga Smith, they however had enough firepower to attack the All Blacks at rucktime. Especially Kwagga Smith was immense at this World Cup. He turned over or disrupted 41% of defensive rucks he hit at the tournament. He won 10 turnovers in total, including 3 in the final. He was a real nuisance. The Springboks only conceded 9 turnovers against 19 by the All Blacks. The Springboks also won 100% of their rucks compared to 95% by the All Blacks. The All Blacks lost 5 rucks against none by the Springboks. In terms of ruck speed, that's the speed of the ball out of the rucks, the Springboks were less successful. The average ruck speed of New Zealand was 5.05 seconds compared to 6.2 seconds from South Africa. Interesting, however, for South Africa, 8% of their rucks were cleared out quicker than 2 seconds, whereas it was only the case in 3% for the New Zealand rucks. Overall, I will say that the Springboks were only partially able to slow down the All Blacks at ruck time. However, when it mattered, they often managed to do so and secured crucial turnovers at times. Play to the referee. Lots were said after the game of the display by referee Wayne Barnes and his officiating team. Many bemoaned the role played by the TMO. Personally, I felt the referee did a good game given the pressure and what was at stake in the final. The Springboks were penalised more than the All Blacks by Wayne Barnes. Their 10 penalties in the final were higher than their average in the World Cup of 8.5 penalties per match. Both teams received 2 yellow cards, with the yellow card for Sam Cane being upgraded to a red. In one area, Wayne Barnes made an early call that stopped the potential negative tactic of the All Blacks. As indicated in my August 2023 video, the All Blacks at Mount Smart made sure they rolled away from each ruck in the direction that Faf de Klerk was coming. This delayed the Springboks' ruck speed. They were not once penalised for this. Not so in the final. The Springboks were on the attack in the 10th minute and managed to go through a number of phases, threatening the All Black try line. Before at one ruck, Ethan de Groot clearly impeded Faf de Klerk and denied the box quick ruck ball. To his credit, Wayne Barnes immediately saw it for what it is and penalised the All Blacks, costing them 3 points. End result was that New Zealand never dared to try that again in the rest of the final. Overall, I think the Springboks failed in playing to the referee in the final, given that they were penalised more than the All Blacks and because the number of penalties they conceded were higher than their overall average of penalties conceded during the World Cup. There you have it, my interpretation of the 4 aspects that I said the Springboks had to get right if they want to beat the All Blacks at the World Cup. In the end, being switched on from the start and handling the All Black kicking game and partially slowing down the All Black ragball played a key part in the Springboks' victory in the final. Let me have your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more rugby videos to come throughout 2024.